Should I sing it? We in the booth. Tony Dressler. He's in the booth.
So good, but no good. You could touch on a lot of things with that. So let's go so good, but no good when it comes to food.
Okay, so here's another thing that I like to make. It's called the ultimate egg sandwich. Listen to this.
Now you got my attention.
So you're gonna need about 6 eggs.
Okay.
You put them in a bowl, milk, stir it up, put some pepper in
You
there.
look like you're smoking them.
Yeah.
Put them in a bowl.
Stir it up, and then you put in the pan. You put once it like hardens, you put a bagel on top, like on the bottom, and then you flip it over so the bagel's cooking, and you put cheese, turkey, shredded cheese, like regular cheese, like American cheese, and shredded cheese, queso, and lettuce and hot sauce, and then you flip it over again and put the other bagel on. But you gotta have cream cheese on the bagels.
Oh, yeah.
So no good,
But it's
but
so good.
so good.
And we got to let everyone know we were talking before the podcast about Tony wants to be a professional eater one day.
Eater. And that's, how does someone even decide? You said you had this fascination in watching people just devour food, and somehow that got you motivated.
People want to talk about like the GOAT, like Tom Brady, Michael Jordan,
Dressler,
LeBron James, Babe
Tony
Ruth.
Dressler.
No one talks about Joey Chestnut. That man dominates the food eating industry.
I agree, man. I talk about Tony
Like,
as a fan of eating.
I don't know. I like everybody. Like, I've always been a fast eater. That's like something that like a lot of people know me by. Is like, oh man, like I'm not even halfway finished with my food, and Tony's done. It's like that's just always been my thing. So like,
No.
I want to get into it.
Do you know what I know you by?
What?
The Sack King. do you mind being called the Sack King?
That's nice. I've heard it once or twice.
I mean, in the right context?
It depends on the context. Definitely.
Because I've heard 2 different reasons.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into one.
For the one, yes.
But the one, Pat, one you probably only know him by.
Is the Sack King, Seals Grove Seal, Sack Leader, which was held for how, you know, the years. It was Marlon Van Horn, 1975 or 6.
72 was
And-
the first year that they started keeping stats for Selinsgrove.
Oh,
so
really?
There's no earlier stats to date other than 1972. So everything after that, they kept stats. But you can't find any stats before
I
that.
didn't know that.
And I don't know I have no names for anybody that was even close. So we've been covering since 2009, nobody that I can think of even remotely close to averaging what you had to average to overcome Marlon Van Horn's 22 sacks in a career. And if I'm not mistaken, Marlon didn't play his freshman year in high school. So you're talking 3 years, him getting 22 sacks. And not until 2017, you became the all-time sack leader.
Yep.
Your last sack was what?
Last sack was Bethlehem Catholic State quarterfinals in my
What a team. Holy moles. That team
What
was
a
unbelievable.
game.
33-32.
Yep. 33-32.
Went for 2.
Shouldn't even came down to that though. We should have kicked 2 extra points that were missed, and we would have won that game. Wouldn't even been in the case.
But do you agree with the call? Go for 2.
I mean, hindsight's 20/20.
Correct.
So
In the moment when that call
in the
comes
moment,
out.
I think because our offense was hot then. They had so many guys. They were 2-3 deep, and they had guys going only one way most of the game. That in overtime, we were beat up. We were tired.
Yeah.
We're going both ways. We're sluggish. Whereas those guys, they got subs. It's like a college team. They got guys like, oh, you need a spell. Go sit down for a series. Like,
Well, the other thing you said, he missed 2 extra points, which actually I don't even remember. And
first 2 touchdowns were missed extra points.
see, for some reason, I think I would remember
I don't remember
that.
the kicker, and that's great because I don't want to put him in the spot.
No, he started. He wasn't even the kicker for the whole year. I don't even know what the explanation was for putting him in that game, but we benched him after that, and the other kid came in and he kicked everyone through. So
Oh, man.
it was.
Don't even bring his name up.
I'm not going to.
So you went for 2, and the play was, and this going back playing Bethlehem Catholic, 2017 states quarterfinals. Libby under center, takes snap, rolls to his right. Ricky Cope gets open, has an opportunity. Had to kind of adjust a little bit, but I'm sure knowing Ricky, felt like he could have caught the ball, and I'm sure, it was something. But so it wasn't a deal where it was, the play wasn't executed. It was a great call.
Well,
and like you said, all those factors had to come in. Missed extra points early on. You don't want to go to overtime with these guys, because I remember when these guys walked out on the field, I thought I was watching a smaller division. Division 2
they were
team.
big. They were
ginormous.
They were enormous. I mean, their whole offensive line was 275, 280 across the board average. They had 2 D1 guys on their offensive line. They had a bunch of D1 kids on their team. They were big. They
were a complete football team.
You recruit guys like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a Catholic school. They picked, I want him. I want him. And when you play at a school, I think that's why, another reason why that, not only were we talented, but we had cohesiveness, because we all grew up together.
Yep.
But that team, it's just you don't even need cohesiveness when you're picking the best kids out of 5 schools.
Yeah.
So
no boundaries.
yeah. So I mean, I think I'll say this, and you could say what you want, but if there was a public school and a private school, state playoffs, we would have won by 3 touchdowns, because the only other public school, we played public school first round, Bellefonte, smashed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad. I mean, that was ugly.
Was it a dreary gray day?
Yeah, over
Cope had a big day. Lively obviously had a big day.
And
Joe Kahn.
Their quarterback was a 1,000-yard passer, 1,000-yard rusher, and I don't know if you guys remember, I broke his collarbone first drive.
Yes, I do. That. Yep, and they had to go with the backup quarterback who had started the season. He actually was the starting quarterback, and the in preseason everything, they made the switch, and this kid was unbelievable. He had a great year.
He was an all-state athlete and everything, and then I hit him, and I have the picture on my phone. It's actually funny. I think I put it on and hit him, and it sounded like someone snapped a tree.
So you heard it.
Oh, it was bad.
Oh, man.
Yeah, bad.
Well, Pat and I were talking about the Danville game Friday night, and they played while missing. And, Danville came out, and they were down 21-0. And then you saw them, Pat was talking to me, was settling in, and they started getting things going. And that kind of reminded us of when you played that team, and just how as soon as you realized that you could play with that team, and maybe you're even better, things started rolling. But Danville comes up 2 points short, and you guys came up a point short.
Yeah.
In a great game. Now, if you want to lose a friend tonight, ball underthrown or dropped? Don't answer it. 2-point conversion.
I don't know what happened.
We'll talk about it after. You can say it off air.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I don't remember the play.
Good. That's tough.
Yeah.
Honestly, I remember the window was small, and I thought, too, fatigue was starting to kick in a little bit for you guys because the battle back was foot on the pedal.
Yeah.
And it was a small window. I think, in my memory, the ball was put where it had to be, which was a very, very tough cross route low.
There wasn't a lot of room for error in that game.
Zero.
And not even on that throw. I think that's a tail of the tape for that game. There was not a lot of room for error with anybody. I mean, we give up a turnover, we go down 2 scores. I mean, they give up a turnover, they're down a score or 2 scores. So it was one of those classic cat and mouse games. You score, we score, tick and tack, and we stop you, they stop us.
I liked the call there at the end to go for 2 because I said fatigue was starting to kick in. You kick the PAT, and now you go to overtime. I don't know if it's in your advantage. Even though things are rolling for you, that was a lot. That was a lot of team to be pushing around. And we kind of noticed the line of scrimmage, you guys weren't getting the push there late in the game that you had gotten in the third quarter, early fourth quarter. And to me, I could see the fatigue kicking in. I think the coaching staff saw it.
Yeah.
So I was a fan of going for it for the 2.
Does your competitive nature allow you to look at that season and look at your career and walk off that field coming up a point short, but knowing you gave it everything you could, compared to playing a game the following week that you would have been, after going through what you did with Bethlehem Catholic and winning, if you were to win that. Next week it's
Charter.
Yeah, which we know what they did to Bethlehem Catholic. And might have had something to do with what you guys did to them the week before, banging them around. But my thought is, we were walking out of that booth, heading into the car going, that was one of the greatest games to come up short, and you could walk off that field. And we were thinking, you guys in your career, sucks to lose, But we laid it out there, man.
Number 3 game, I think we said all time.
Yeah.
State championship won, Allentown Central Catholic in the state championship run, and then that game your senior year.
I would say for that season as a whole for me was the best way of putting it was like we did play as hard as we could have, but I think as a competitor, it never sat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I still don't think it sat. I mean, we can hold our heads high in respect to, I mean, we took an early season loss to Schick, and we could have packed it all in.
Yeah.
True.
And we were projected to make a state run that year. I mean, we had a chip on our shoulder from the year before when we lost to Jersey Shore in the in the district championship as my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
And we got smashed. It wasn't even close. They beat us by like 3 scores.
31-14, I think it was. Something like that.
So we went into that next year like, okay, we need to change some things. We need to do some things. And, like, we come out, and our first 2 games are always not that hard, and we're stumping people. And then we go over to Schick, and we lose a tight game. And after that, it was like, we're either going to sink or swim, literally. And we turned it around. We started blowing people out. We came out with a chip on our shoulder. And, I mean, we went over there for the district championship game. We beat them 34-0 in a freezing game.
Yeah.
And then
The first time you played him, wasn't it raining?
it was muggy. It wasn't raining.
Something.
It was
It was not like
super
ideal.
duper humid.
Yeah.
Super duper humid. But we were over there, and it was. They wanted it more than we did. I mean, you play Selinsgrove Schick. I mean, hostile environments for anybody, but especially for me from those fans. Woof. But I was not liked by many of our supporters.
Is that because your sack celebrations and you kind of getting under their skin? Because we know that was something that early in your career, that was some big thing you did. You like to, but you think that got to them? You think other fans recognized that and decided they were going to get on you as much as they could?
I got a lot of hatred from other student sections for, I think word got around that I like to talk a little bit.
A little bit?
So when I play, if any of
That hasn't changed, by the way.
if any of my teammates are listening, they know that they would probably say I talk more than a little bit. But my mouth goes when I play, and good, bad, or otherwise. And obviously this wasn't the greatest thing. And other funny thing is to bring up student sections and everything. So we're at Schick, my junior year for basketball. And we're at Schick, TV, SECV's there. And they are giving me the works. And I remember my coach at the time pulling me off to the side. He's like, "Do you think it's a good idea that we start you tonight?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "This place is going to erupt. We were scared to even warm you up." And I'm like, I'm like, put me in the game. Like, I'm going to play. Like, he's like, "Are you sure you can handle it?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm good." So they announce me, and whatever, the game goes on. And at halftime, like, their student section has all these signs about me and whatever. And after the game, like, halftime, they, like, rushed me into the locker room. And after the game, I got police escorted onto the bus.
Wow.
What?
I had no idea.
That happened multiple times. That happened at Jersey Shore, their student section for basketball. I got police escorted out of the Selinsgrove Schick game my junior year in districts for football.
Wow.
I had no idea.
I didn't know that stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was not liked.
Well, take us to the Berwick game your freshman year.
That was
You talk about you got a penalty that game.
I got a couple. That was the coming out party for me my freshman year. I mean, obviously I was playing well in the year, but that was one of my 2-3 sack games in my life. And obviously I was a freshman. The other ones when I was a senior, but I went off. And we were playing them. And the first sack, I give them an X. And I got a warning. They're like, "No more of that stuff." And I'm a competitor. Like people take that as me being cocky or I'm showboating, whereas the effort and the amount of sacks in a season compared to passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, receiving yards, sacks, tackles for loss, it's completely off. I don't know what the number is, but like a sacks in a season compared to touchdown passes, it's got to be something ridiculously,
Crazy.
probably double or triple.
Yeah.
And the fact that I put so much effort into like that, and like the way it is where you're beating another man to get something. It's not like everything has to align. The coverage has to be there. Like, obviously they have to pass, but you get there and it's just like, it's you hitting another man. And I'm such a competitor and I'm a passionate guy. And that was my way of like,
Now coaches tore you a new one?
Oh yeah, I threw up the X, and they're like, "What are you doing? Like, stop!" And then I gave the throat slash, and that didn't sit well with anybody, and I got flagged. And then Coach Hess and Coach Hicks both were like, in a very PC way now, not how it was then. They're like, you need to figure it out. Like, no more of that.
Yeah.
So, but then later in the game, I jumped off sides when they were going for 2 or something, and we were up, and they ended up getting it. And that was a long night for Mr. Dressler.
Well, Murphy, look up those stats then. Get us college passing TDs in a season versus sacks in a season. We'll see where we're at on that number.
Just to put a reality on what you're saying. And like you said, a lot of touchdown passes are thrown. A lot of touchdown passes are caught and run and all that. Sacks aren't something that come, like you said, 3 in a game and you're celebrating because that's obviously a big to-do. But, man, it's something we're celebrating. And you work hard at it and do everything you're doing. And so I think Ryan would say as a coach, you want to make sure the officials kind of understand some stuff. Like, he is working hard in any sport.
Yeah.
I'm working hard, not what you're seeing on the field tonight, but all the time. Let me celebrate a little bit because that's basically what I'm hoping I can do when I accomplish these big things.
And that's another thing. Like, towards the end of my career, like, refs knew who I was from my camaraderie and the stuff that I did on the field.
Oh, and you get to know refs.
Yeah, exactly.
You really do. Like, I don't think people in the stands know that refs and players actually build relationships.
Oh yeah, there's a lot
year.
of. I even got closer with more basketball ones because it's like
More
not
personal.
so many people.
Yeah.
But like football, I mean, they'd come up to me like, Tony, just if you get a sack, like, well, if you do something like just minuscule, not like do anything like threatening towards anybody, but they're like, the X is cool, just like everything's fine, like we know what you're doing, just.
But you get out of the area like a Berwick, and you get their chapter.
Oh, no.
Now you don't know them. Yeah. Now you don't
Jersey
have
Shore,
that relationship.
Southern. It's completely different.
Yeah,
And it actually can go the other way. They can know you, but not know you as a person, but know, hey,
the X guy.
Yeah, let's be careful. We're going to have Selinsgrove come up. It's going to be hostile. Let's not let them get away with any extracurricular stuff. So we don't have these. So quick flags go, to try to simmer it down, which isn't always fair either. But Murphy, to have those numbers, sacks to touchdowns passes.
So the single season college record for passing touchdowns is 60 by Joe Burrow at LSU.
Decent player.
And for rushing touchdowns, it's 37 by Barry Sanders at Oklahoma State.
He was okay.
And then it's 24 sacks by Terrell Suggs at Arizona State.
24 in a season?
24 in a season.
And that's unheard of.
That's unheard of.
I mean, you've played against a lot of guys too, and I think the number would say 12 to 15, and you're having a pretty good year.
If you have anything over 10, you had a good year.
You're massive, yeah.
Because I like even like in my record-setting career at Selinsgrove, like 6, I had 6 for 3 years, and I couldn't get past that. Like I was like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like doing the math in my head. I'm like, if I get 6 this year, I'll be at 24. I beat him by 2.
Yeah.
But I started off really slow, and I really got worried at one point, like. And, like, when the problem was, like, I remember talking to my dad, and, like, the newspaper was on me, and all my friends and family, like, when are you going to break it? And the newspaper's interviewing, like, when you're 1 sack closer. And, like, I started off so slow, and, like, early in the year, I was like, I need to get this now so I can just get out of the way. And then I remember, like, talking to my dad. He's like, just play football. Like, it'll come. It's came for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, you'll get him.
You got where you are just being you.
Yeah. And I remember early on I missed a couple too because I'm so like I don't know. I was in my own head. Like you're getting that close to something, and I was playing a little out of my element. But
Pat and I remember you and I having a discussion. We might actually, when we would talk with Coach Hess, we might have brought this up to him. And I always try to think of things as a coach. Now I'm a basketball coach. I'm not a football coach. But there's certain things like when that compare, and one of them is like mindset of your team. I remember you and I talked about, do you want to get him these sacks as quick as possible? Just keep sending them so that it's done and over with. Mm-hmm. So it's not something you're carrying into the postseason where you're like tiptoeing on, oh, this kid right here is so close to the record, but we also need to win. And if we need him in containment more of this game, then we do need him in pass rush. Like, you and I think we talked about Hess, and Hess, I think his answer was just like, we don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, I call a little bit of B on that because I would want my players to have success.
Yeah.
And I would want them to give them the opportunity. And knowing that you're probably going to get it, I want you to get it done and over with, and then we can just focus. I mean, that's, to me, I remember you and I talking about that. Was that in your head, too? Was there pressure? Like, I just want to get it done and out of the way so I can just play football.
100%. And there was times that, like, I mean, there was some, throughout my career, like, there was a little instances where I had a little clash with, like, some of the things that I would do. Like, we'd be on the other team would be on like a 3rd and long, and I'm like instinctively, I'm like, they're passing here, and I'm going to be doing like not a contain speed rush thing. I'm like, well, if I go do something else, like, it'll just. So later in my career, me and my defensive line coach and D coordinator, like, I would like go like this, and they'd like give me the nod, like I could do like a little bit of like my own like modify, and they'd be like, yeah, you're good.
Go play.
Yeah, like go get a sack.
That's cool.
Go get a hurry, go get a sack, go force a play, like do it.
That's good player-coach relationship.
It's very
there.
good.
That's
very
awesome.
Good. Yeah, it was nice because like it really happened like my junior year when I kind of like took over the reins as like, you've been here for 2 years, you've played D end and linebacker, like you're kind of like the defensive captain-ish. So like I made all like the dummy calls and stuff and everything. So like I remember I'm like sitting there and I'm like, why is he calling this? Why is he calling this? I'm like, and that was like our signal. Like I would just like finger him, like finger look over at him, like do something with my hands.
Right.
Like you're good. Do
that
it.
signal.
So that's cool. So
Yeah, I would as a player be like so ecstatic if my coach was like, I want you to try and get a dunk. Coach, I've only ever dunked in practice. Go for that.
Exactly.
Dunk. Go for that dunk, Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you want me to cherry pick?
Yeah.
Okay. Please.
Well, I think you see that with all records, even if it's a rushing record, like, can you get it in the, you're hoping to get in week 8 so that you don't have to modify your game because you want the kid to get the record, but you definitely don't want it to come down with potentially is your last game.
Yeah.
And you're 75 yards off from the record and
exactly.
you're up by 60 and now you're like, I don't care. I want this kid to get that record, So I'm sure it affects all those different type records that you're getting, that you're trying to achieve.
I've got a crazy scenario this year in basketball with Milton. I got 2 kids in the 600s career points. They need to average like 3 more points a game this year than they did the previous year. And if we get like, 3rd place in district, get a playoff game, they're both going to cross the 1,000-point mark by probably less than 10 points. So like, I know this, unless they both just blow up early on and average like 6 more points a game, then it's going to change the scenario.
Yeah.
But I could have 2 guys that score 990 points this year.
Yeah.
It just missed 1,000, and like that's tough in your head because these kids both deserve it, but they're kind of in the scenario where 2 great offensive players on the same team. You get 2 1,000-point scorers on a team, that's one heck of an accomplishment. You have 2 900-point scorers on a team, that's a great accomplishment. Yeah. But for me, I've already said, and these guys are great. I know without even talking about, they want to win. And whatever it takes to win, whether it means like they score 950 points each, it doesn't matter. The goal is to win. But man, it's there. It's there in the back of the head. Yeah. So I can imagine as a coaching you in football, it's there in the back of the head. It really is. Because you love your players and you want them to experience everything and have that opportunity. So also one thing, you said about 12 sacks in a season. Well, Jared Verse at Florida State right now has 8. And he's getting a ton of attention because of just 8 for Florida State. And he's you said he's off air. We were talking. He's projected to be drafted
top
first
10,
round.
Yeah, top 10, top 20.
Local football player, man.
And he was nothing at Central Columbia.
No, he was big.
He played tight end.
Yeah.
Wow. And
well, he went to Albany,
and they took a stab. They were like the only school that offered him. They just took a stab at him with his size.
Wow. Albany's smart.
6'4", 230 coming out of high school.
Yeah.
And they just took a look at him, redshirted, bulked him up. And I think it was I think he came out my year or the year after me. And they got him in the weight room, and he's massive. And then his first year playing at Albany was last year, and he was rookie of the year in the conference. He was first team all conference, and he had a hell of a year at a coming out party.
Yeah, and now he's having it at Florida State.
Oh, yeah.
He's at the top.
Well, everybody, the day that he went in the portal, he got offers from everywhere. Florida State, obvious.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Texas, Bama, all these schools. Don't quote me on that, but
Sure.
you look at his Twitter,
the idea.
he had offers from everybody.
Well, his family, they moved out to Arizona. So his younger sister is actually a high school student now in Arizona.
Oh, wow.
She used to play locally, and she's got Division I offers everywhere.
Yeah.
She's a phenomenal basketball player.
And Murphy, you're aware she got offered and is going. Didn't she commit to somewhere? Wasn't it Georgia, I think? She might be committed to Georgia basketball.
Wow. I know every school wants her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a family. I mean, just
Yeah.
athletic family.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, there's a local guy and just worked his way up. And here we got a local guy,
Yeah.
worked his way up. Tony, to me, like I always try to put myself in the shoes of other people, and I always root for people's success. You've accomplished something that people dream about. Like, you did it. You played D1 football, man. You played D1 football, and that's a big accomplishment. And you did it. You did it the way where you worked your way up through. You know, high school, you played at Lock Haven, and then now here you are, D1, man, forever, a D1 football player. What is that like? I mean, just knowing you can always walk around, that's never going to be taken away.
I think when everybody's a kid, like, your dream is to go to Oregon. Your dream is to go to Penn State, being around here. Your dream is to go to USC, Texas. And that opportunity is about this size.
You wish.
Yeah.
Smaller than that.
Yeah. The opportunity to play college football is about this size.
Yeah.
So then that Power 5 opportunity is about this size. So, I mean, I struggled with size, and I knew that. But, I mean, coming out, starting 4 years in high school, having a record-setting career, I was hoping to get a little more recognition than what I got, but that's the way the cookies crumbled. I mean, you can't go into the mind of a coach and say, what do you want?
You would have got probably more if you played a couple years later.
Yeah.
Because with the Flemings and all these
Oh, yeah,
guys that are
100%.
getting the recruits now.
Yeah.
The area's getting much more attention from the bigger schools. They're going,
100%.
whoa, Central PA plays some serious hard-nosed football.
Seriously, and all other sports as well. Like, it's not even just that. I mean, there's D1s looking at all your sports just with the athletes we have. And it's not as abundant as a Philly area or Florida or Cali, but there are guys
They're here.
There's guys that you can find that, like, okay, that guy can play there.
Yeah.
That guy can play for us. And, I mean, it worked out. I mean, like you said, I took the long road. A lot of people get that opportunity right away. I talked with a lot of Division I coaches. I had a sit down talk with James Franklin at Penn State, Lehigh, Villanova, and a lot of stuff. Like, you talk to them, but I got recruited by a couple of them, went and visited a lot, where game day visits, all that. And I think it means more coming this way. Like, I went to a school like Lock Haven where we won 5 games in 3 years when I was there.
Really?
We were dead last in PSAC every year. They're not known. They've had a horrible football team for years. And I started as a freshman, started as a sophomore, COVID hit, whatever. So I had a lot of film and started senior year there, my senior year, junior year, whatever. And COVID hit. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, you know, what can I do after this? So I compiled like a highlight tape from like my freshman, sophomore year and whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to graduate. Like, I'm going to have one more year. And why not just test the waters with this whole transfer portal thing?
Yeah, and what's that process? Like, what do you have to do to get your name in that transfer?
Well, honestly, the transfer portal is a little, like, everybody thinks it's like a social media app, but it's not. I didn't even know how, like, you don't like look up there and like message coaches or anything. Like, it's like you being able to leave a school is just like, that's the portal. Like, your name gets thrown to a database with thousands of other names of kids who are transferring. And they have your height, weight, school that you were just at, and your position. No film, nothing. So
you got to sell yourself.
So basically, the only way you get recognition is people checking you out on social media, asking your previous coaches. So like, it's an overpacked transfer portal. So which, especially in today's day and age where everybody's like transfer portal, you see it so big in Power 5. So that's why I was even shocked that I got any Division I offers, more or less getting 1 or 2 like I did, because there's so many people in it. And I came from a school like Lock Haven that's Division II. But the PSAC, great conference for football.
A lot of recognition.
Very well
definitely.
known for D2. Yeah. It's like the SEC of Division II. And I got some offers. I had a lot of tape. I had good stats. And I was blessed when they started talking to me, and I got offered a very, very, very good scholarship, basically paying. I'm going there for nothing, basically, to play Division I football. And you get there, and it's nice. I mean, you're like, I'm here. Like, you came from a quad A school in high school, small, central PA, no Catholic school. You do that, you get your whatever, you get your notoriety in town, like you're a local celebrity or whatever, but then you go to Lock Haven. Lock Haven doesn't win football games. We won 5 games.
Yeah.
That's a culture shock coming from Selinsgrove, Grove, where we were just 3 out of the 4 years I was there, we won titles or district titles. And then like after that, it's like, well, that dream's still there. Let's just see what happens. And luckily enough, everything fell into place and got me a scholarship to St. Francis and got a ring, NEC champions, and got into the FCS playoffs, one of the top 24 teams in the country. And
man,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. So it was a cool experience. It was definitely a cool experience. I mean,
you're never going to have the what if.
Yeah.
What if I would have just tried and did,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you
absolutely.
And I mean, I can still think of things where I go, man, what if I did this?
Yeah.
What if I just would have tried this? What if I would have decided to do this instead of that? And, the less you have of those in life, that means the more of life you've lived.
And it definitely is a humbling experience. You go from being the guy everywhere you've been before to now you're in a role where you're backing up 2 All-Americans. So
yeah.
That's an easier role to accept.
I mean, you're still playing, but like it's like a good pill. The first initial pill is a little more of a horse pill. You're like, okay, I'm not doing it anymore. But then you swallow that second pill where it's like you're at D1 and the 2 positions that you play, you're behind guys who are All-American.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. It's like, you know what? Like
being Tom Brady's backup is not a bad role.
Exactly.
There's no shame in that.
And it's like, even like the coaches said, like later in the season as this thing went on, like obviously I was playing more and whatever and getting on the field, but he's like, you've played a lot of football your whole life. You've had success everywhere else. Be a mentor to those guys. Those guys are young. Like, you're behind guys that are great and you're a great football player yourself. Mentor them. Show them the ropes. Like, you've been here for a while. Like, be another coach with us.
That's a nice role.
So, I mean, I took on a new role. Like, when I went in, I did my job and I played as hard as I could when my number was called. But off the field, I mean, and those guys would come up to me and look at me for advice, like, hey, like, what are you seeing?
Yeah.
And like, and that was nice. It was nice to talk and be that sort of guy and like accept a new role. It's like that NBA player late in his career that doesn't have it anymore as much.
LeBron
as he
James.
used to. Michael Jordan on the Wizards.
Hey! No, Michael Jordan was always the best.
But like that guy is like late in his career and it's like, and they get an interview and it's like, my role now isn't to score 35 points a game.
Yeah.
My role is to mentor the new guy who's coming in that's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of cool. It's like, you know what? You've played a lot of football. My body's not the same. I was in a boot for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
I waking up after a game's a lot more than it used to be. So it was nice. It was cool. And like that, and that's something that like you said earlier, like that what if's never going to be there. But like being the competitor that I am, it's like, there's always that grass is greener type of thing. Like, what if I could have done that? Like, even like back to the game, like,
yeah,
it still doesn't sit because what if I did something else? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even in basketball when we went.
But you're always going to have the title.
Yeah, exactly.
You're always going to have that.
Yeah. But I don't know. I've always been one of those guys that one more. I always want one more. But
well, I think anybody can play. You talk about playing D1 level. Anybody that plays at that higher level is usually wired a little bit differently than what I am.
Me too.
And it's a little easier for me to accept than it is for that guy who wants a little bit more. You got a ring. You just said that.
Yeah.
Something you'll cherish. More importantly, what was the gear like? I've always heard Division I gear is through the roof. You must just have a closet full of Division I gear now.
We got pictures of gear too. We got pictures of Tony playing at Lock Haven and at St. Francis. We can see him in his football gear, but I think he's talking more like the hoodies.
yeah. So,
What about shoes? You bling.
Yeah.
You got to come up with something, I'm sure.
So they gave us a decent amount. I mean, I have a whole wardrobe of shirts, shorts, sweatpants.
Ryan's quarter zip.
I got Ryan a quarter zip.
Quarter zip, what's that for?
That just here you go.
Well, why is Ryan going to end up with it?
Yeah,
Tell him, Tony.
We had a little bet on the UFC fight.
Which one was that, Tony?
Shout out to anybody in NCAA. There was no money involved. It was a friendly bet.
It was.
Little disclosure here.
But no, we just had a friendly bet on the O'Malley fight a couple weeks ago.
We actually didn't bet on who was going to win. We bet on what the judges were going to say.
What the judges' outcome was going to be. And I thought that Yan was going to take it, but
I said
O'Malley got it.
What did I have to friendly give you?
I think it was a Justin Jefferson.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, I had to get you a Milton hoodie.
Oh, yeah.
It was a
Milton hoodie. It was a Milton
Yeah.
hoodie.
Man, that's big
That's
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
You would have walked around the Milton hoodie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I saw some of those that are pretty cool. So,
Yeah. Well, I got new gear coming out. I'll have to show you. They have the store up.
I have to be very courteous of where I go with that, though.
Yeah.
You know what? We're buddies. People
Because
understand.
Black Panthers don't eat seal meat, just to get that out of the way. Just had to throw that in there.
I have no comment.
Leaving that alone.
We'll see.
No, but I know that, I was always told I had friends who played Division I, and man, that stuff they throw at you, it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got lifting shoes. We got cleats, gloves, mouthpieces, hoodies, sweatshirts, T-shirts, shorts. I mean, everything you need to be a football player, whether it's weight room, on the field, off the field, they got it. Just so you can rep their school and everything. And that was another thing. Like, playing in the PSAC, you don't got a lot of money. There's not a lot of money to be thrown around.
Sure.
It's the tuition's not the same. They don't bring in as much money for games. So, like, in my time at Lockhaven, I think I got 8 pair of sweatpants, 3 shorts, 3 T-shirts. That's about it. Everything else you had to buy. So,
And you still don't have them.
yeah, and I mean, I have them, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not like getting like backpacks and all this stuff. And
Well, there's high schools now, like big high schools where they got, the enrollment 2,000-3,000 kids, and their sports programs are big. They get sponsored by like Nikes.
100%.
My brother is a assistant principal at West Ashley High School. It's Charleston School District. They got like 2,500 kids, I think, in the high school, and they're sponsored by Under Armour. I've got so much cool stuff.
Yeah.
Of their, and get this. This blew me away. So their logo is the Kent State logo. Mm-hmm. They pay Kent State. How much do you think they pay them a year to use that Wildcat logo?
1,000.
10.
$100.
Wow.
What a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like all this stuff, all this apparel he sends me, shorts, like golfing shorts,
Yeah.
hoodies, hats. I wear it all the time. It's beautiful stuff. And they're the same colors like Washington. They're the purple and stuff, but they have the Kent State logo, West Ashley High School. That's beautiful
cool.
stuff. And I'm just like, man, can you imagine being a high school kid? Like you're on the football team and you're walking through in all your Under Armour gear all the time.
Yeah.
You are just decked out in West Ashley
That's
football Under Armour gear. What an experience. And you, I don't know how it was when you were in high school, but you went to the bigger schools where they were really successful. You would think nowadays, like DeMatha's got it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, DeMatha, Carroll, Gonzaga, Good Counsel, all in the D.C. area. And yeah, they're putting kids all over the place. So I'm sure. Back when the 80s when I was there, it wasn't uncommon to see, that kind of stuff. But not the players didn't get that kind of stuff, but the attention, the recognition, and all that. So I can't even imagine the level it's reached now.
Yeah.
I have a nephew who's playing, and he's a 9th grade player, and he's playing like on a club team or something in the Bowie, Maryland area. And every private school is trying to get him to come to play for them. And, they recruited him. They recruited him probably as hard as any high school kid gets recruited to go anywhere. He's a lineman. He's a center. He's polished and got good size and good shoulders. And they're after him. So I can imagine when
That's
they get there, the kind of stuff that they'll get.
That's crazy to think. High school kids getting recruited to high schools.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
I love it.
From a public school to private school.
That's crazy.
You can do that. When I was in high school, I never even understood it, but we were recruiting. They would go on recruiting trips to all these areas and try to recruit kids.
Yeah.
I went to school in D.C. I lived in Maryland. We had Virginia. We had the Northern Virginia. You had kids all over the place.
Yeah.
It took me 45 minutes to get to school every day.
Wow.
And we drove every day to school.
How much do you think that NIL now plays a role in where kids go to school? So I guess the question for me is like, from my understanding, like even if you're not like a big name recruit, you still get some NIL money from some colleges. They'll give you we're going to give you $5,000 up front for NIL. And that's because we're going to use your name on blah, blah, this and that. Then plus, if we sell apparel with your name on it, we can continue to build on that money, right?
Yeah, so NIL is kind of like a sticky process with some people. Like there's even some states that are kind of iffy with it still. But like you can basically contact any business you want to try to seek a sponsorship with them for them to pay you, give you, but it can't be directly related to your performance on the field. So you can still receive your NIL money. So like for a prime example, the quarterback for LSU, he quit after spring ball because he lost the quarterback job. He had NIL deals, but NIL deals have no correlation to your play on the field. Oh. So he's done at college, but he still receives that NIL money because he's under a year or 2 year process. But so it can't be like, oh, this guy signed with McDonald's, so every time that he gets a touchdown, he gets a free Big Mac. It's not like that.
No, or like if you break the sack record, if you get 25 sacks this year, we'll give you $5 million.
Exactly.
More. No performance.
It's directly related to your name and your image and your likeliness. Has nothing to do with name, performance, and likeliness. So,
well, thank you for not charging us to have you on the podcast. Because we have no money. Yeah. Zero.
It's all right here.
Right here. I'm poor.
And our producer.
I'm glad our producer has great timing.
Thoughts of coaching?
I had a little coaching experience back in the day with helping out Sealands Grove and 5th grade camp experience, but outside of
fifth grade camp.
All right, we heard a little bit of this story.
5th grade
Our
camp.
producer Murphy how was Tony as a coach?
Tony was not the best coach.
I was very encouraging.
Was he positive?
To lose.
Was he?
Let's just say we had to start a swear jar.
5th grade camp. There's the competitor coming out of you.
Yeah. Well,
No, there was.
Don't tell us. I know there was. Got to get that out.
What I heard, and you'll have to clarify because I hate rumors. I want the truth, and Murphy did tell me, so I'm thinking this is the truth. Something about an adjustment late in the championship game. Okay, you take it from there.
So, anyway,
anytime it starts with anyway.
If you lead a team to a championship, is that a good coach? Yes or no?
It's the players. So you're already missing out on the coaching thing. You're looking at your accomplishment. You're in the championship game because of the players.
But it was
walked right over that.
It was a 5-minute conversation with girls that I led them to the championship game. So I
led them.
This is a great way. You got 2 coaches here. We're going to help you through this.
It had nothing to do with
you didn't do anything.
And 5th graders.
I'm just saying they need more guidance than a high school kid. Am I wrong? Correct me. It's a yes or no.
They do after being coached by
Sometimes you overcoach.
Yeah. So we get to the championship game, and one of our star players, who's our producer, there's a girl kicking. And I was doing some scouting in the other games. I'm like, she's
not competitive at all.
That's what good coaches do.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, got to be prepared.
Thank you. And I told our first baseman to creep in a little bit. She hasn't got it past the pitcher all day. 2 outs, bottom of the game, bottom of the 4th, whatever innings game.
Up 2 runs.
Up 2 runs. I'm like, this girl's not going to clutch up and hit this. Like, there's no way. Bases are juiced.
She's got no feet. There's no way.
So she boots and flops this ball over our first baseman right where she was standing. And to say the least, I took ownership. I'm a man.
Oh, there you go. See, that's the coaching part of it, right?
There was a few cuss words that were put in there and stormed off the field. Didn't shake hands. Yeah.
I don't think shaking hands is that important anyways, Tony.
No, who shakes hands?
It provides no leadership for any kids, especially 5th graders.
I told our girls we're going. It's time to do push-ups. Get ready for next year.
We were stronger, faster.
We were in the gym already.
Too bad they're going to be 6th graders. And
they didn't even have a gym at Camp Anawana, wherever you were at. You were too busy. You must have ate too many owl pellets.
Yeah. I was like, we're done dissecting. You're punished.
These brownies are amazing, girls. Try them.
You guys
Tony, that's an owl pellet. They're in tinfoil. How's I supposed to know?
For that performance, none of you girls are dissecting frogs the rest of the weekend. We're doing labs.
That's funny. So that was your coaching debut.
Coaching.
So, yeah, I mean, it's only up from here.
Well, you should get into coaching one day. Yeah, you love local sports. You and I talk about local sports all the time. And you're pretty good knowing with past local sport guys where they're at and stuff. And, you know, there's a guy that he was talking to me a little bit about before locally when he was watching some film. Go ahead. Tell him it's your favorite player in the area right now.
The Madden kid from Bloomsburg.
Yep, Madden Locke.
Okay.
Bloomsburg. He is a great player. My thing is like when I watch film, like obviously I'm not a coach or anything, but there are certain guys that I like. Like some of the guys that people like when they watch football may not be the same guys that I like. Like everybody likes Tom Brady, but for particular reasons, like he's good, he wins championships. But like when I'm watching somebody play, like I want to see what he does when he's not making a sack, when he's not making a tackle. How is he impacting the game when he's not
the intangibles
actually impacting the game, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, for example, like when I played, like if I wouldn't have gotten a sack, I wanted there to be a reason why I didn't get it. Like I got double teamed. I got chipped. They rolled out the other way. Like I'm impacting the game by doing that. And like Madden, whatever his last name, Locke. He's all over the field. He's giving it every play. He doesn't take plays off. He plays offense. He plays 4 positions on offense. He plays defense. He plays 2 or 3 positions on defense. And it's not like, and when he hits, he hits. There's guys that take plays off. And I'll be a component. Everybody has taken plays off. There's times that I've taken a play off. I mean, I'm sure he has too. Everybody has.
Yeah.
You're tired, whatever. But like when those taking plays offs outweigh the plays that you do take off, and you play with that mentality, and you have 134 tackles in 10 games.
Yeah.
You ain't taking many plays off.
You're not taking many plays off.
No.
And when you're playing offense. And that's just someone like, I like that. He's not complaining that they're not winning a lot of games. As opposed to complaining and arguing with people, he's doing what his part is in any facet of the game for them to win a game. And that's what's most important.
He's equivalent to 3 guys on the field when he plays.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He really is. You take him off that team, and they struggle.
If they announce All-State and he's not on it, that is a serious issue. In my book, he should be a Division I football player.
And I can attest, like I've known him for a while. He's played in the 25th Hour AAU program. My buddy Joey Brito, Coach Brito runs. And I remember when he was younger, I mean, he had some skill. Like he was that kid. I'm like, oh, that kid should be better than probably what he is. He's got some ability and stuff, but he didn't have the body yet. He was a little bit chubby and stuff, and that was an anchor for him.
And
but he's transformed, man. Like he's a great basketball player, Tony. I mean, like he's kind of like you. He's like that, not huge in height kind of guy, but plays the bigger role because of his physicality and strength. And, you know, he's not going to really beat you off the dribble, but he'll nail the corner 3, like real good shooter. Well, he was a PHAC first team All-Star last year in basketball. So, I mean, he got it done. He had a good season.
And that's like comparing kids like that. Like those are kids like stick out to me. And that's like, I think one of the reasons why is the older I get, and I'm not old by any means of the imagination yet, but like I have like that old man mindset. Because like I remember when I was in high school, and a lot of the compliments that I would get from the guys who loved Selinsgrove football and basketball and came and watched me play. And like one thing that they'd always say was like, yeah, you're making plays, but you're having fun. It looks like you're passionate. You yell at somebody when they need yelled at respectfully. You're excited about the play. And that may, like we talked earlier about rubbing people the wrong way about showboating or whatever, but they're like, it just seems like you play so hard. And like, I remember, we had a guy who came to our basketball games and he would keep my stats every game. Regardless, like I could have 6 points, 2 rebounds, and I could have 24 points and 13 rebounds. And he kept the stats for me every game. And he'd come up to me with him and his wife. And he'd be like, hey, like, we love watching you play. Like they're little kids. And that's something like the Madden kid. Like I hope he's helping other kids on his team that are younger. He's talking to the older individuals. And like those are guys that I look at because that's what I wanted to be. Like I was so happy that when kids came up to me and they want me to give them an autograph or they're like, can we have a picture? And an old guy and his wife come up to me and they're like, oh man, you're the reason we started watching Selinsgrove sports again. And it's like that little thing. It's like you work so hard and you're showing out and doing good on the field, but it's almost like you're giving back to the community too. You're making yourself out there. You're being respectful. You're being kind. You're doing the things off the field that need to be done.
You're getting approval.
Yeah, exactly.
And approval, I mean, and speaking as, a guy, I mean, I always say this, my players on my team are looking for my approval.
Exactly.
I am somewhat of a father figure. They can have the best dad at home, but a young man is always looking for approval. It's like we want to make other people happy and take care of things, and it's just naturally in us. So you mean like you're just the approval you're getting from it is a big part of that.
And another thing, like even to comment on the showboating thing was like when you came and watched a football game at Selinsgrove, like you paid what, $5 if you're an adult and $2 if you're a student. Like everybody, like it's high school. Like obviously the kids, you might have known their dad, but like when you watch the game, I want it to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, like not even trying to make it about myself, but like you're like, man, maybe Tony Dressler is going to get a sack tonight and do a celebration. That's the reason why you come to the game. Like that's like something that like that makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if some old guy comes up to me, like barring any interview or any college recognition, talking to coaches, like some guy who was old, who's watched Selinsgrove football for a long time, and like that was my greatest thing that I held in my head was like, I bring my grandson to say, I want you to play like him. And like a little bit of me is like, and like, or the guys like, and you represent what we want about the
You
sport.
bring energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, and I'm not trying to make this about myself or like talk about like, and try to brag or anything, but like,
Well, it is a podcast with you on it. So, I mean, I guess if we were going to make it about you, it should be
but
now.
like, I'm just saying like, those are like some of the things, like I know a lot of people that are probably listening to this, that will listen to this will be like, yeah, he was a little cocky. And depending on how you perceive that, I just wanted to get my point across. Like, it wasn't like that. I'm a passionate guy, and I was doing it for more than just me. And that's something that I've always said, like, everybody wants to be remembered for a long time, and you do that by making impact on the people around you.
Well, and to me, there's a difference. Like, there's celebration, and then there's demeaning actions. Michael Jordan hit a big shot against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. He jumps up and throws a fist in the air. How's that any different than you going like this?
Yeah.
So you're just celebrating.
Yeah.
You're not staring over top of the player. You're not saying something about his family. You're not shaming him. If that player's worried about you doing an X, then he needs to do a better job so you can't. You know what I mean? And like you work so hard off season, in season. And when you get those great things like a sack, you should be able to celebrate a little bit.
Yeah.
As long as it's not demeaning to the other person. And you get people like, oh, that kid right there, look at him celebrating. Well, you're just bitter. That's bitterness there.
Yeah.
He didn't flick you off. You know what I mean? He didn't say something at you.
Exactly.
He stood up and put up an X. And this is the problem with where we are in this world right now. We're soft.
Yeah.
Like everybody just wants to cancel everybody. Nobody wants to see anyone succeed anymore. They're not happy for people. They want to take away. They want to even the playing field. And that's why I just don't have a problem. When a kid hits a 3 in a game against us and he does the thing where he does the low 3, yeah, I'm like, oh, man, I wish I could just guard that guy. Yeah, that's what I want. I want to guard you.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, oh, he sucks. You know what I mean? Like, oh, look at that jerk.
Yeah.
It's not what it is. You know what I mean? Like, okay, motivate me. I want to guard that kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just hope you find a guy on your squad that thinks the same thing. Like, okay, I'm going to make sure his 3 doesn't go back up. I'm going to make sure Dressler doesn't make any more X's. But I'm not going to be butthurt over it. But I'm all for it. I love that stuff. And I don't see it as showboating or anything. I see it as a guy that's like, yes, I did something.
Well, I want to Pat, my mom and you go back. And I remember when I was in high school, I remember she told you a story about the one day from a football game. And my mom was like, sit up in the stands, and she'd listen to the game on her little headset and everything. And she told you about the one time that she got in an argument with a guy because he's like, oh, Dressler, that cocky jerk, da-da-da-da-da. And then she talked to you about it. And the following game, my mom would have her little recorder, and she would record every game because just to listen to him, just for memories. And obviously you guys work together. And I don't know if you remember this, but you made a comment on air. You're like, those celebrations by Dressler or something along these lines, like it might rub people the wrong way, but you got to know the kid and the family to understand what he's doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if you remember saying that or anything, but
no, but I mean, I appreciate you, recognizing that in your mom.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like, honestly, that's what it is. Like if you knew me, like before you say I'm cocky and arrogant and want it to be by myself, let's sit down and have a conversation about where I come from. and what I did to get here and my upbringing before you make stabs at me.
Yep.
Like,
you don't know what bed you crawled out of.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's in everything in life.
Yeah.
That's where you want all your players to be as a coach. You want them to have hey, you don't know what he crawled out of this morning. You don't know what he went to bed to last night. You don't know what he's doing in his spare time. We need to not judge people in this world, and we need to celebrate people's success.
Exactly.
And we're just that's the tough part right now. Like, I think social media in a way though has helped that. Because I think the athletes get to know each other better, and because of that, they're showing love. Because, and I always say this to my kid, the guy that's talking trash to you, he's talking trash to you and trying to bring you down to his level.
Yeah.
You don't need to talk down at his level. Just say, the best thing you say is, yeah, you know, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Because he ain't gonna know how to react. So like, I think now I see these guys, even like, following some of these Division I players, they're showing love to other Division I players on their social medias. And they're like, yo, man, I know what it takes to get there. And to have a 3-touchdown game, whoa, man, I'm putting this up. Yeah. This guy deserves some credit. So in a way, social media has helped that. But I mean, as a whole in society, I just think there's so many bitter people, and like we just don't celebrate people's success enough.
And that's the thing, is like it's like almost like life is like that same way, like a sporting event. Like between the lines, in life you are competing against people. You want a job that someone else wants. You want the house that someone else has. You want the money that someone else has. And between the lines, like, you want the ball, I want it. Mm-hmm. Like you're competing in everything you do. Whereas like at the end of the day, when you get your promotion or that person did beat you out, rightfully so. Like we jersey swap at the end of games. That's showing like, hey man, good game.
Yep.
Regardless, like you had 6 points. I remember in basketball terms, we talk a lot about football, but in basketball, the guys that I thought were the best players were the guys that did two things. One, that rebounded tremendously, and they were relentless with loose balls and defense.
Yep.
And those were the guys that I had the toughest scoring on.
You need 5 of those guys.
Exactly.
You need 2 scorers and 5 of those guys, and you are going to win a ton of games.
And that's another thing. Like when I started as a sophomore in basketball, I'm not going to give you 20 points a night, but my job was to guard every team's best player. And I wanted to do that. Like, that's like the battle. Like, okay, like it's like that corner thing, like Darrell Revis, like you're guarding Moss today, you're guarding Calvin Johnson tomorrow, you got Larry Fitzgerald the next week. Like I own that.
The challenge.
I want to, like, and that year, I mean, you guys both follow high school basketball. There was a lot of 1,000-point scorers that year, 2015.
Shamokin had 2.
Shamokin had 2. Lewisburg had 2 with Federock and Allen. Yep. Mifflinburg had 1. Milton had an 800-point score. What was his name? Oh, I forget his name. Baker?
Oh, no, he scored 1,000.
Or he did score 1,000.
Yeah, he ended up scoring 1,000.
Jersey Shore had a kid. Like, and that was like the thing is like that year was so prime for this area of basketball. And it's like our coach is like, you know what? You're going the game. I don't care if you score 2 points, but you're going to be in their grill. And like, this is what you need to do. And like, I remember at practice and like guarding like some of our quicker guys. Cause you coached me when I was little. I was a big guy.
Yeah.
And to make the step from going playing in the post primarily my whole life to the first year, like you're on the perimeter now.
Yeah.
Those guys are scoring 1,000. They're no post guys. They're not 6'8" or just chubby guys. Like you're guarding guys running the arc, going off the dribble, like pump fakes, and they got a bag if you're scoring 1,000.
Well, and I remember when you were making like that transition, like you coming over to my house. I used to have that indoor basketball court, and we would work on your ball handling stuff. And like, we weren't trying to get fancy with it. We were just trying to get tight with the basic, ball handling stuff.
And I remember
just to be able to
something
penetrate.
that you always told me. You said the best way to understand how to guard somebody with a ball is how to dribble a ball. You always used to say that to me. You said if you know where the angles are when you have a ball in your hand, you can cover anybody.
Yeah.
You remember saying that to me? And you used to bully me up until I was like, we're gonna play basketball, but I don't want you to take it easy on me, like because Matt Federacca's not gonna take it easy on you.
No. There were times Tony and I played one-on-one one time. Might have been his junior year. And I'm still young enough where I'm still, I still got some quick feet and hands. And I'm like, this one-on-one game, I'm not letting you get the ball up past your hips. And I don't think, I don't think it happened many times. And it was nothing to do faster than me, stronger than me, better basketball player than me, more athletic than me, But I just knew angles and I understood, everything he was going to do. And it's just sometimes the gray beard will take advantage.
Exactly.
And that's, it's a big part of it.
And that's what I say for like even high school basketball players nowadays is just like, everybody wants to work on the between the legs, the shuffle, all that stuff. I'm like, you know what? You develop two things. On-ball defense and boxing out, you'll score a lot of points. You'll get steals. You'll get putbacks. You don't, and I mean, obviously, you need a shot and like the fundamentals. But like, you box out and you play on-ball defense. I mean, you play on-ball defense. Someone gets a tip. You're the first one down the court. That's a layup. You box out underneath the hoop. You get a soft touch. That's a putback. That's 2 points.
Yep.
You get 5 putbacks a game. That's 10 points a game.
Yep.
You get 1 steal a game.
And it's not that hard to do because not many kids are boxing out. So you will, if you're focused on boxing out, you will 100% get a lot of.
You average a steal and 6 rebounds a game. That right there's 12 points.
See, what people don't know too, on-ball defense is not just about stopping the guy from penetrating to the hoop. It's pressuring the ball so that the pass is pressured and hurried. Mm-hmm. And like the biggest thing I teach, and I start really young, like in our youth league at Milton, and when I was at Selinsgrove, I don't allow guys to reach in. The moment you reach in, it's a whistle because nobody on any level steals the ball on ball. It's very, very, very rare.
Yeah.
How it is, you pressure ball, jump the passing lane. You get the lazy bad pass where the guy wasn't looking up because he was being ball pressured, and he passes, and we jump the lane, and then you're going the other direction.
Yeah.
So every time I see a guy get a steal, like I'm like, that probably happened right there because of that on-ball pressure. He jumped the lane and went. So.
And another thing that's prevalent, I mean, I know that I talked to you guys both about this before, is like if basketball players worked on, obviously, the fundamentals with the boxing out and stuff, but conditioning and weightlifting. That is so impactful in that sport. That
it's not the same in basketball as in football.
Yeah, and it gets underutilized. Mm-hmm. Like, I was a center, but like I averaged a double-double just because I was out physical than a guy who was 4 inches taller than me.
Yeah.
And like and conditioning. If you don't want to play defense because you're tired, you want to score points, so you take it off. Like I would if I was a basketball coach, like we talked about this, lifting and conditioning a lot.
Yeah.
Like the skill set, obviously, so you can do it. But like even we did skill work every day. I mean, I gradually got better at it. But like just doing that in practice and people going through it nonchalantly, you don't get better at it. But one thing that you can get better at is that will to be like, I'm going to be in better shape than every team we play against, and we are going to out physical teams and within the terms of the system, within our defense, whether that's 2-3 man, regardless. So, I mean, I know you guys know more about basketball than I do. But
well, we got a picture of Tony playing basketball, right, Murph? She can put it up on the podcast. People
while she's doing that, the shout out to Pete and Cookie Dwyer. You mentioned a couple that came, and they come to Selinsgrove girls basketball game as well. Still doing the same thing. He'll get a little piece of paper and he writes all down the stats, and he's done that for Murphy, giving Murphy her numbers.
That's awesome.
And how she's played. But they're huge supporters
Great.
of Selinsgrove basketball. They give out an award at the end of the year, sometimes with the jacket and they added their names to plaques. So they've been big time supporters. And actually, the next day they bring a bag of oranges so they can get the vitamin C because it's flu season. Keep them juiced up and all that kind of stuff.
Good old vitamin D.
But that's Pete and Cookie Dwyer at Selinsgrove, and he's actually the main catalyst to East Snyder Park.
Yep, yes, he is.
Done all that, so everything has happened there.
Beautiful
So
park.
he and his wife, unbelievable people.
For great people. I was hesitant to say their name because I know that he likes to be in the low light a lot.
Right.
Well, now he's about to be seen big time. This podcast
His name is going viral.
Is huge.
Yeah.
But
not yet, but maybe one day people go back. Let's go see what the podcast was like 5 years ago. Oh, look at this one only has 700 views. Let's watch this one.
Well, getting to the more important stuff now. Everything you said is awesome. That's why we had you on here. We know we'd want to hear all that good stuff between basketball and football and all your sack champ and all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, we have a few questions for you.
Oh, with the 2-minute drill.
Yeah, 2-minute drill. Here it comes. And what this does is allow us to get to know you a little bit even better.
Okay.
Not that we don't know you well, but these are questions we would have never asked you in a in a normal conversation.
In a sober
But
setting.
this is from the booth. If you had to spend a weekend, would you rather spend a weekend with the Jonas Brothers or who was the other one that we
One
had?
Direction.
One Direction, that's right. Jonas Brothers, One Direction. You have to spend the entire weekend music and no music. Which way you which direction?
Or no music.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell him not to sing.
Yeah, you don't
still have to be with them.
You don't have to sing. You're just hanging out.
Not a huge fan of either. Let's go One Direction.
One Direction. All right. There you go.
I'm gonna pick the Jonas Brothers. I always like to answer these two because I just like that's fun for me.
Yeah.
Because one of my high school friends, I'm still keeping in touch with him. Brian Gonzer is married to the sister of who married Kevin Jonas.
Oh.
So Kevin Jonas's wife is sisters to my buddy's wife.
Nice.
And like I've seen him on the Jonas reality show and
Yeah.
stuff, and he was in People magazine at their
Yeah.
wedding. So I'd also get to hang out with a friend of mine.
Yeah. There you go. Cool.
That's a little story for you.
Yeah.
Well, staying with the whole music thing, what are you more likely to be caught singing, Taylor Swift or Katy Perry?
Both. I have stories for both, and I've been caught singing both by a lot of people, but I have a bigger place in my heart for Taylor Swift by a mile. So I'd be caught more. I love Taylor Swift. T Swift, shout out. My girl.
Why I'm missing?
PA girl, love her to death. T Swift's my girl. I love her.
You ever seen her in concert?
1989 tour, baby. that was the greatest weekend of my life. Saw her, met a lot of Hall of Famers at the hotel.
Tell us the elevator story.
So we're riding up.
It doesn't involve T Swift.
Yeah, no. If it was T Swift, I don't know. Joe Montana, T Swift.
That's a tough one for me.
Yeah, we're going in, and I'm with a bunch of girls. It's me.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Off to a bad
Oh,
start.
I forgot. It's the ladies, man. Or the man lady. I still don't know.
I Googled ladies man. His face did not come up.
No, I Googled man lady. It looked a little bit more like Don't Google man lady images.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
It's interesting, though.
Put safe search on when you do that.
Yeah.
So you're in the elevator with a bunch of girls.
I'm in the elevator, and this guy's in like a tracksuit type thing, and I'm like, no. In my head, I'm like having this internal conversation. That's Joe Montana. That's just some guy. It's Joe Montana. And I'm like, eventually, I'm like, whatever. Is your name Joe? And he goes, yep. I'm like, you're Joe Montana. And we're in the elevator, and I'm like shaking his hand, and I'm like a kid in a candy store, and I'm like, Joe Montana's probably like, this kid is like insane. I'm like,
See, if you were smart, you would have been, oh, it's great to meet you, Mr. Namath.
yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, like
Joe Buck.
I was just like so like flabbergasted. Then he left, and I'm like, do I go stalk him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Do I find his room and just, like, hover out there with a Sharpie, like just waiting outside his door, but like, Joe, can you sign this?
I'm sure it's happened before.
No, kid, pull up your pants.
But no, and then I like did research. I'm like, what the heck is Joe Montana doing in this hotel with me right now in Pennsylvania? The concert was at Heinz Field, R.I.P. But Heinz Field.
Yeah.
So I like looked it up, and they were honoring all the Hall of Fame Western Pennsylvania quarterbacks, Marino, all those guys that were from Western PA back in the 70s. And
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, the neighborhood.
So,
You didn't know that. He's from Pittsburgh.
Not a quarterback.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well.
So they
Yes, he
all-
was. Until a bunch of young kids for a long time.
Yeah.
You sneezing?
All the girls went out, changing topics. All the girls went out to go shopping, and I'm like, I am staying right here, and I'm going to meet some people, hopefully, because they're going to honor all these people. There's got to be guys coming in. So shout out not to Jerry Rice, because he is a jerk. He stood me up from an autograph and completely ignored me. But shout out to Franco Harris. Guy comes in like 45 minutes late. You could smell like the alcohol on his breath and everything. And I'm like, hey, Franco, can I have an autograph? Yeah, sure, man. And
Now
like,
pull up your pants.
and it fits even perfect because I had a Pittsburgh hat. I got it from like the consignment store in the hotel. So thank God Jerry Rice didn't even sign it because he's
That
already
make
from
no
Pittsburgh.
sense.
Yeah. So
I have a Mike Mussina autographed softball. Does that make any sense to you?
sort of.
It's just an enlarged baseball. No,
So-
that sounds like an awesome.
It was a great time.
Great elevator experience.
Great time.
And then you got to see.
Taylor Swift in concert
Yeah.
doesn't get better than
What a
that.
weekend.
Awesome.
What's better, that weekend or a sack?
Well, it depends on which sack. I got 3 that I got to put up there, but it would probably be that
Any sack.
sack.
So, all right, we like to do this. What can we compare? A sack? Oh, People might not know this about you, but you have a pick 6 or 2, right?
I have one career interception was for pick 6.
And we got a story for you about that you probably don't know.
What's that?
Want to tell him?
Which one are you referring to?
Remember when he got the pick 6 and we were talking to the coaching staff about
actually.
said-
And he probably knows this.
They said
He's
you
got to
were-
know this.
They said you were out of position. That was luck.
I was supposed to be blitzing.
So you got a pick 6.
Because when we were interviewing the next weekend for the game, we're like talking up the pick 6, and it was brought to our attention that it actually was a horrible read on his part. He was supposed to be dropping or something he was supposed to be blitzing. He drops, and the quarterback makes the worst read in high school football ever and throws it right to you. He turned it into a pick 6.
Well,
and
that kid
celebrated.
ended up going to Marshall on a football scholarship for quarterback.
So who's laughing now?
But no, I remember that was the only time I got an interception. It was my sophomore year when I was playing linebacker, and I caught the ball. And I'm like, I have to score. Like I was like, there's no one really in front of me.
I'm doing this for Taylor.
Yeah. And shout out to Jack
Gogler, I would say. That's the guy who knew how to do it.
Because he blocked for me on he's the one who sprung, the only guy that could catch me for my pick 6. And like 3 weeks before that or whatever, he had a pick 6 because he had like 2 or 3 that year. But I sprung him. It might have been junior year or whatever. And he came up to me. He's like, you sprung me. He's like, one of these days I'm going to be able to spring you.
Awesome.
So like we had like a little bro hug after that. Like, hey, I got you back.
Pause.
Resume.
He had one in the Greater Johnstown game. Yeah, interception then.
He was a lot faster than people.
Deceivingly speed.
Yeah, people
Deceiving
realize.
speed.
Well, we always say Jack Gallagher when he got to the ball, play was over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Second all time in
he
tackle.
didn't tackle people. People exploded.
Yeah, I mean that's the same way Madden Lock. That Madden Lock.
Yeah, he gets
you
there.
could, I mean, not the size comparison to Jack, or nor the way Jack's build was, but that sort of mentality.
Yeah.
That ball pressure and
Hard
everything.
nose. Yeah, it's funny. I'm thinking about your interception. How the coaches say, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. It's kind of like in basketball. Pat, I know you've had this, where there's a certain kid about to take a shot, and you're like, no.
Yes,
Yes.
And he banks it in. You go,
It's how we drew it up.
yep, I taught him that.
Yeah. Shoot the ball off the backboard from a strange angle for a 3. Yep.
He kicks it, or as Pat would say, punch it with his foot.
Yeah. That's how I described the punt.
One time in a game, he described it. That punt. Oh, he just went and punched it with his foot. And I go, Pat, that's called a kick.
Just when I
No,
think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
Perfect.
You go and do something like this.
I thought this would be used on me.
and totally
Redeem yourself.
That's good. Well, we've all played basketball. You've all taken a shot like that was stupid, but it
Not
goes
me.
in. You're like,
Yeah, every shot I took was great. I went 2 for 14 one time shooting in a championship game.
you miss 100. Yeah, and the one was the game winner,
The one was the game winner.
and you almost died.
And I almost died. Tony did see that video before. But you know what I did do in that game? Held a kid that averaged 24 points a game to 6.
And that's what people.
And the newspaper really recognized that, and they wrote about that. So I was like, oh, cool, man. So like they're not going to talk about my 2 for 14 shooting. Sweet. They talked about the game winner and how I shut down their player. Now, the Danville newspaper said I was lucky and that I shot 2 for 14. And I was just like, man, they didn't show the love.
haters will hate.
Man, they will.
I watched an 8th grade game where one individual missed her first 11 foul shots, but made the one to send it in an overtime, and then they won in overtime.
That's all that matters.
So it's not about how many you miss; it's about making the one when it had to be made, and then pushed them into overtime, and they won in overtime. So
I don't know who that person
kudos to
was.
Murphy.
Oh, Murphy.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
Jordan.
That's why my motto is open shot's a good shot.
Yes.
And if you're not shooting, it's either because you're not skilled enough to think that you're going to make it.
Yeah.
Mentally, you're not focused on what you need to do, or you're not putting yourself in a shooting position, or you're not in a place where you should be shooting. So
You've got to be a really, really bad shooter for a coach to not be okay with you taking an open shot. Because when you're open in the driveway, there's a lot of kids that can make decent percentages on open shot. So if you're wide open and your coach doesn't want you shooting it, you probably already know you're not going to shoot.
But my thing is sometimes their focus is thinking the coach doesn't want them to shoot. And I've told
You got to reiterate it.
my AAU team, my 25th hour team, Murphy is on that you will not get that from me. I will pull you out if you're not shooting as part of the game. It's shooting's offense. It leads to offensive rebounds and the putbacks for 10 points.
Yeah.
So you got
It's not your job to make it. It's your teammate's job to rebound it.
I think the biggest thing in scoring, especially with high school, young age, is actually, you know what? I say play on the field for any sport, confidence within your coaching staff and players.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you don't, I remember, I had a really good junior and senior year scoring wise. I think I scored a lot those 2 years. And I just remember I was our second leading scorer as a junior behind our center. And then our senior year, I think me and Thomas were neck and neck. But the coach come up to me, he's like, if you're open, go. You got to lane to the bucket, drive, put your shoulder into somebody and get a layup. And the confidence that breeds within you. You're like, you know what? I'm not iffy about taking the shot because you're worried about what your coach is going to say. You're going to get yanked. You have the confidence. That's what I think is just, and even in any sport, football, if you're running the football, but they say if you get tackled for loss or you fumble the ball, but you have in your head, you can make a mistake.
You're going to play free.
It's a part of the game. There's no mistake-free game.
Well, can you imagine if Bailey Hottenstein didn't have the okay to just shoot the ball in that game where I was at Southern and we come into Selinsgrove and it was one of the greatest high-scoring high school games I was ever. What was the final of that? 92-87?
I think it was 102-97.
Oh no, we didn't break 100.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive of that.
It was in the 90s.
Crazy.
It was in the 90s.
That game was absolute
lower 90s
crazy.
For the winner and
that game
high
was
80s.
packed too.
Yeah.
That game was packed.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Julian's return, and
nobody knew that though.
No one did.
Because Julian had a meeting because he had the what was the injury in his
hamstring?
Hip. No. He had a nodule in his hip, his labrum. So he had a tear in his labrum.
I thought it was his hamstring.
No.
Because we're the team that injured him in the football season.
So he had a nodule on his hip. And they knew about it. It would cause him some soreness. But in that football game, somebody fell on him, and the way they fell, the nodule actually tore into his labrum. Uh-huh. And so he was going to have surgery. So it was one of those things. So he could play as long as he could deal with the pain. It wasn't really going to get any worse. And then he kind of stopped. He decided he was going to be done. And he ended up going with his surgeon. And the surgeon had told him, that day at the Steelers game, he said, we want you to continue to play if you can deal with the pain because we want to keep you strong, keep the hip strong, all that stuff. So, obviously I'm going back to Selinsgrove. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of tension in certain things, but, ultimately we're going back. And I get on the bus and Brito says to me, dude, Julian's playing tonight. I was like, yeah, okay. He goes, no, serious. He's playing. It's the surgeon wants him to play. I'm like, oh, my God.
I'll never forget that. We go out and they announce starting lineups, and they always do away first. And I always went last for when they announced starters. They announced Julian starting, and Stabila comes down to me and goes, you got him.
Thanks.
And I was like, I looked at him when Julian ran in, and I pointed at myself, and then he came down and he said, you got him. And we go out for tip-off, and I did the tip-off, and he did it for them. And he goes, Tony, you've been on a tear lately, but it's going to be a long night for you tonight. And I looked at him, I said, touche. We went back and forth. I mean, he talks, and I was talking.
But he would respect somebody.
Oh, yeah. And I remember even after the game, we dapped each other up, and everything was cool. And he's like, hey, man, we were on the bus, and we were talking, and Ryan and Brito were like, you're going to be on Tony the whole game. And he's like, that's your job. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, that's cool. I mean, you see him on Saturdays at Ohio State, and we had that mutual respect where it's like that jersey swap thing I'll talk about earlier.
Yeah.
We want to kill each other when we're playing against each other, but after the game,
you respect what you are.
You're a player.
Yeah.
And we brought out the best of each other. We both didn't play our best games. I think we were both the third leading scorer on our team because Julian had about 13 or 14.
Yeah, it wasn't a crazy
amount. And I had 15 or 16.
He did have an alley-oop, though, that was dirty.
Right behind me.
Right behind you. Thank God you didn't step back. That would have been a poster dunk.
That would have been bad. I would have been on ESPN.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
But no, and then that's how it is. That was a great game. That was probably, you want to talk about great games, high scoring, fun, packed gym.
Yeah.
That's great.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Win or lose, that was a real fun game.
Tensions are flying. There was a couple technicals in that game.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just know I couldn't believe how both teams were scoring.
That was a track meet.
Oh, my Lord, man.
Well, to get that high, you got 95.
Thomas went off in that game, I remember.
Thomas.
Bailey Hottenstein had career day times 10.
Yeah.
It was a really, I mean, if you want to see scoring, that was the one.
That
to
was
go
a
to.
great, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That was fun.
And the tensions on top of it, it made it very interesting. And then Julian playing. And then people are like, "Oh, Brant got Julian to play just because it was Selinsgrove." Yeah, dude, I was able to get Julian Fleming to play for me because we're playing a former school of mine.
Yeah.
No, that's dumb. His surgeon wanted him to play. That's who he's listening
yeah.
to.
Number 1 recruit in the country.
Yeah.
He's word out.
Yeah, he's
playing against
listening to
Selinsgrove.
Ryan Brandt
To play against
forget your
Selinsgrove.
future.
Yeah.
Risk it all. This is Selinsgrove Southern.
So we got to run down the.
Oh, yes.
That's some other.
2
let's,
minute drill.
Yes. Just thought, spend a night in prison, or have a finger removed. No, in prison.
How about a year in prison or a finger removed? I just don't think a night is enough.
How about a month? We'll go a month. We're not
Month-
going a month.
a month in prison, like-
30 days.
A
30
month
days
in
sentence.
Lewisburg Penitentiary.
So like you're in it.
Yes.
Like you're in the
or a finger. A thumb.
Do I get to pick?
What finger? Oh yeah. I mean, if you're gonna say finger, you can pick whatever finger you want. Holy cow! I'm not gonna hold you to that.
If I go to prison, do I have a criminal record for the rest of my life?
No.
Oh, I'm going to prison.
No, you're just dealing. You're going in.
No.
You're going in to
You're
be.
just going to be a
monk.
man lady.
Going to prison.
Not a ladies man.
Going to prison. 100%.
Okay. And not lose a finger.
No.
Wow. You can take a finger. I am not.
My
going to
age,
prison.
I'm getting rid of the finger.
I can just get huge in prison. Hit the weights.
Yeah. You'll be the weight.
Pause.
Pause. It'll be Olympic too.
Okay.
It's an Olympic weight, buddy. That's a big bar.
All right, we're going to challenge you again, though. Spend a night in downtown Philly on the sidewalk in downtown Philly,
Like
or
bad area?
in bad area,
Near
or
Temple University.
or
and
a night in the jungle.
not Milton basketball.
No, not in the jungle.
So you say night from like sundown to sunrise.
Yes.
Man, it's 24 hours. However you want to start, and however you
We'll go
want to
5
finish it.
p.m. to 5 a.m. if you want.
I would
This is just us trying to get you know.
I would say the jungle is more. I'd say they're both very unpredictable when it comes to violence, but I would say that there are more things that can kill you in the jungle. You eat one wrong fruit, you're dead. You go down to sleep, you get bit by a snake, you're dead. You sit on some poisonous thing and you got an
dead.
insane rash, you're dead. Whereas if I'm walking through the streets, if I just keep my head down and mind my own business and I'm walking around, like, I don't think I think the streets.
Streets of Philly. Yeah.
Well, I think the jungle, you can't defend yourself.
You can't. What do you?
I think.
How are you going to kill an anaconda?
I think in one night, I was in Philly when I was a younger guy, intoxicated, hanging out with some buddies, and I definitely went down some wrong streets. But I think you're more likely to have something bad happen in downtown Philly than you are in the jungle. But I think you could also defend yourself in Philly, where I don't think you could in the
But
jungle.
you can't run from a lion. You can
That's
run
what I'm
from
saying.
people. Like,
But I think people in the jungle, someone who's very experienced in the jungle, say, okay, what have you been watching that you think leaning against a tree for 24 hours is going to lead directly to a lion finding you and ripping you to shreds? When you watch it on these channels, that they are seeking these things out to show you on TV that I'm standing within 20 feet of a lion. I'm just wondering if a guy who's into that knows that would say, you could lean against that tree right now and you may not come across anything for 2 days.
but you could also walk up and down the street and no one would bother you.
Correct.
You could.
But I can't defend myself from a lion,
You can't
and I
defend
don't
yourself
want to
from-
go out that
from
way.
a tarantula, from all that stuff
Yeah.
in the jungle. That like, there's a lot of stuff in there.
I'm glad we're really thinking about this. This is
Well, I could not defend myself from a gun in the side of my head.
true.
Here's a
I
question
cannot-
for you guys.
True.
Here's a question for you.
Well, it's my show. Go ahead.
Who would last longer if Mike Tyson was in a ring with one of you, or Mike Tyson chasing you in a fight, like chasing you, trying to kill you, but you guys are in a ring?
So wait, who's lasting line between us two?
Yes.
Well, I saw Pat get knocked out by a shed one time. So I think I'm going to survive.
But I killed a medium Stromboli before I came here
That's
tonight.
true.
So I beefed up.
So let me understand the
Felt
question.
pretty big.
What, in a fight with
So
Mike
like
Tyson?
both of you individually are fighting him in a boxing match, or both of you, or he's chasing both of you. So like which one would last longer? Like if you guys were neck and neck in a boxing fight, or if you guys were getting
Oh,
chased
him
by
chasing me?
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to run longer than
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
going to be able to take punches, 100%.
Well,
But you could
and
ru-
he's going to outrun me.
Not anymore. I don't think so
Really?
anymore.
Oof. So
Okay.
there was a time where that's the last place you wanted to be. I'd rather be in a jungle leaning against a tree hoping a lion doesn't find me
Than
than
ever
not try
fight
to
Mike
survive a boxing ring with Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson could
He's going to
literally-
hit and kill me. He's going to catch up to me where I may never even come across a lion or a tiger in the jungle for 24 hours.
Hit a baseball off Mike Mussina or knock out Mike Tyson. What's higher for you guys?
I think I have a better chance of hitting a home run off of Mike Mussina.
No way.
Dude,
If he wants me to hit.
Have you seen the hits Mike Tyson's taken in his career? Like, I won't even come close to hitting with that power.
I thought you were going to say, what would I be able to defend myself better with Mike Tyson? A baseball bat or a baseball? If I'm going in the ring with Mike Tyson, I'm going to have a bat, even though I don't want him to be close enough to me that I could hit him with a bat. But I don't think I'm going to hit him with a ball and knock him out.
I got a good question for you. This is where my mind goes. You're on a first date. Would you rather have your date fart or throw up on you?
Fart. Doesn't leave a stain.
They can.
But there's pants there. We're good. Stinky.
Murphy, you like that question?
No.
All right, speaking of worse, what is worse, a paper cut or stubbing your toe?
Stubbing your toe 100%.
100%.
One of the worst things ever to happen.
One
to
of the
mankind.
worst feelings ever.
Man, those paper cuts, though, man.
They're bad,
they
too.
They sting right there.
But I have to agree with him on this one.
Yeah, stub the toe. Okay,
Even
we'll
stubbing
go.
a finger, I'd say, was worse than a paper cut.
Splinter underneath the fingernails horrible
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, that is bad. That's bad.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, that's bad. What would you rather do if you had to pick a profession? Drive tractor trailer or be a postal delivery guy? For a profession now. And think about what you would be benefiting by one of the two jobs.
From stories I've heard about both, we're going to go straight off the looks. What looks cooler, a post office driver or a truck driver? Truck driver. You get no, like, oh, I don't know, it just looks cool. And then, like, you always hear about, like, obviously this is kind of bad, but that shows they're having a good time, like, when they're on the road. Like,
Strip joint.
you're driving around in a post office. You're, like, around your little town. Like, you can't, like, oh, you know what, I'm thirsty, let's stop at the bar. Whereas you're a truck driver, like, hey, let's hit up the strip
Yeah.
club today. Let's
Well,
hit up the bar today.
And now these trucks are so cool. They got like apartments in them.
Yeah.
And they pull up to these truck stops that this insert goes in the window and then the window closes on it tight and it blows air condition or heat
Yeah.
into it. So you don't even need to be running the truck for heat or air condition. Dude, they're living the life.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'd have the LED lights around
Yeah.
my cat. I'd be like, this is the coolest. Netflix is on.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Government pension's pretty cool, though. Getting a full,
That's
living off
true.
of that and
Yeah.
everything.
That's
That
true.
does, and it keeps you from.
But they have some good retirement. Some of those truck drivers.
Also, some of those truck
cross-country.
drivers make, yeah.
Big bucks. Plus, when the kids are coming, what's better than that? Well, I want to retire. Well, you know what? I want to blow the horn for kids.
All right, this is a tough one now. All those other ones obviously are pretty
Those were
easy.
easy.
Yeah, those are pretty. If your name wasn't Tony, what was it going to be? What would you want your name to be if it wasn't Tony, man? Is it Anthony?
It is Anthony.
Okay,
Real
there
name-
you go.
real
I
name's
figured it
Anthony.
was, but
Yeah,
I've
real
never
name's
heard
Anthony.
anyone referred to as Anthony, not even your mom.
Yeah, no one does. Unless I'm in
doesn't.
trouble.
Right. Anthony? That never happens.
I would say Bo. I like that. Bo. B-O.
B-E? I was going to say.
B-O.
B-O.
Bo. I don't know what the proper name, like Anthony, for like whatever that is for Bo. Robert,
Just
maybe?
Bob.
Bob, whatever.
Just Bo.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just,
I
Well,
think
your
it's
birth
just Bo.
certificate is just going to say Bo.
just Bo.
Would you
B-O.
change your last name
Yeah.
to like Dressler? Because like
Yeah, yeah. My middle name might change, but I think it's already been changed to
Bo Dressler.
G-O-A-T, Tony G-O-A-T Dressler.
Goat. I like
Bo
Bo Dressler. It sounds like you'd be a kung fu guy.
Dressler.
Dressler.
A Formula One driver.
There you go.
No, those are good stuff. That helps us, learn a little bit more about Tony. Like, what's your thought through that stuff? But we didn't really get talking much about food, which I know is a big fan. We're going to have to make sure we get you back sometime again. We got to really dive into the food thing.
McDonald's. He's a McDonald's guy.
And we need sponsorship. So McDonald's rep, if you're watching.
The gangbang.
You got to
tell them what it is.
Yep. The McGangbang.
Yeah, tell them what it is.
You get McDouble, split the patties. You're keeping all buns. McChicken in there. Keep all buns. No pickles off. Nothing. Everything. Right in there.
Anything drooping out the side?
Oh, mayonnaise is falling. Mustard, ketchup's falling. Little piece of onions everywhere.
I was telling Tony about a new burger that they have at McDonald's, and we're actually going to go get it after the podcast because he just doesn't believe it can be that good. But it's like the BLT Smokehouse burgers.
Nothing beats a Big Mac.
Yeah.
You're going to love this.
A Big Mac.
As one food man to another, you're going to love
I'll love it, but does it top a Big Mac?
So is that? So that falls into
I like it better.
No good, but so good.
Yeah.
We'll have to do it again. We have to have more
absolutely.
time together. We appreciate you being here, no doubt about it. And good luck with the rest of the way. And hopefully your coaching career gets a little bit better than the kickball experience. And we'll have a chance to talk next time about the tug of war contest in the 5th grade camp too. That's a
That's
whole
good enough
nother
reason to bring you back.
That's a whole nother. It's called a segue. It's called a what do they call that? Holding people near the radio. What? Cliffhanger. There you go. It's a cliffhanger.
Is this part 1 of the part 2?
Oh, yeah.
Part 2 documentary
I've-
series?
Part 2,
10.
Sack King.
10.
Like you have Tiger King,
Yeah.
Sack King.
The
And,
last
and in more than one ways.
Last Dance has nothing on us. So, what is that? Are we going to wrap it up from the booth?
I guess we'll wrap it up from the booth.
Man, this has been good time,
Thanks,
Tony,
Tony.
man.
Thank you, guys. Seriously, I had a great
Let everybody know, man, if they want to watch you back from the booth.
Share it.
Yeah,
Man.
definitely.
Like and subscribe. That's what they always say. Like and subscribe.
And our producer,
Everybody will watch.
yeah, all the
O'Brien.
people. Thank you, everybody out there for watching.
One more sack.
Yeah, we got producer Murphy knocking things out. Take it away from the booth. Time out.
Everyone dance.